Hello random viewers and welcome to this episode about this aircraft that I've been working on for a few days now. I'm pretty sure that this is the largest aircraft ever made with stock parts in Kerbal Space Program. I did use joint reinforcement for testing, however this install now does not have that. There's no mods on this install, you can see it flies just fine. Didn't use any cheats except for unbreakable joints, which you need just for loading in. Once it's loaded in, though, you can disable that because it's not necessary. The problem with loading in is it puts a ton of stress on every joint, and when it's a craft this large, it snaps them all. But if you want a tutorial on how to fly this thing, I could potentially do that. I will have a link to this in the description in my Google Drive folder. I've been putting all my crafts in there, and I will show you how to do that here in a second, but we'll look at some of the things that this craft has. Alright, here we are. You can see it doesn't even really fit. I had to do a lot of rerouting and moving it back and forth just to edit everything. You could probably build bigger than this, however, you can see the sheer number of struts that I already have. It might not work if you went a lot bigger. I did see on the internet there is a plane that it was heavier that was made stock, however, I would not consider it a conventional aircraft just due to the way that it was more of a plus shape with its fuselage. It was incredibly tall, had a ton of wings, tons of part clipping, and wouldn't really work in real life. This, however, would. The only part clipping I use is the wheels on the far back tail. You could kind of see those in the clip, just to protect from tail strikes. But besides that, yeah, there's not really any of that part clipping used, and I only did that because I had to. The smaller landing gear would snap off, and I needed that larger landing gear. And in real life, you could just add a door or something there. Unlike the other aircraft I saw, you cannot put engines on the back of fuselages like this. You need that air going in, and you need big wings. So yes, this should be the largest, most realistic aircraft built. Let's see. It has a total of 1,322 parts, so that is a very large part count, and it weighs 1,968.644 tons. So almost 2,000 tons, quite a bit. It is 42 meters tall, and its width is 176 meters, and it is 238 meters long. It is longer than its wingspan. Usually the wingspan is a little bit longer than the craft, but for this craft it just happened to be that the fuselage was longer. Didn't make a huge difference. You can see that it actually has to have wheels on the wings, and that's for when earlier versions, without all this strutting, the wings would slam downwards and just destroy themselves. That's just in case of that, or a rough landing. Doesn't really need it on this innermost one, but out of these, there's wheels on all the little strut holding points. It has a total of 32 engines, 24 Goliaths, that is 12 on each wing, and then 8 of these Weasleys on the joints between the wing sections. Now if I grab this thing and move it around, you can see that it has quite a few. It's made in segments, these wings. You've got 7 wings over here, then it's 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and then 1 on the wingtip. And then we have the tail, which is the elevators and horizontal stabilizers are 2 wing segments, while the whole vertical stabilizer is 3, as you can see there. There's 2 there. It also has these smaller vertical stabilizers here as well. Those are to help with extra stability. It does have these Space Shuttle solid rocket boosters. The reason for that is it does not get enough speed to get off the pad without them. You saw how close it came to hitting the ocean. That is actually normal. That's just part of it. If it had a longer runway, it could get up to speed and take off on its own. It doesn't need that drop to get in the air, but that's just how it is for the video. Yeah, here's where the only part clipping is, but again, you could just engineer and landing gear. That's just due to limitations of Kerbal, not really part clipping that would violate laws of physics. So, well, looks like it's frozen. Not sure exactly what this craft is trying to do. This took quite a while to build. I do have a version that works with, if you have the joint reinforcement mod, that is already in the folder. My Google Drive folder. Okay. Well, I'm just going to leave that. I'm going to stop breaking things. I love the Control-Z function. And I will show you how to use those. Anyways, this is the WTX-02S. You'll look for that in the folder. And then the one that works with joint reinforcement will not have the S. It'll just be the WTX-02. The S standing for stock, of course. The joint reinforcement version has a lot less parts. It flies better, in my opinion. It does not actually need the solid rocket boosters to get off the ground, because you don't have the extra drag of all of these struts. And then, of course, as you saw during takeoff, it really does need to be... you've got to go to the left of the runway to avoid hitting the fuel tanks that are out there, and then you have to go back to the right, and it's just crazy. But anyways, I will now show you how to install this yourself. Here's how you can download a craft. You need to find a video that actually has the link to my download folder. Of course, the video that you're watching now is not up yet because I'm filming it, but it'll be there, and you'll probably be watching the video right now. Anyways, you'll just go to the description. For me, I've got a link on my Saturn V recreation video, but what I can do is click Show More, and then in the description right here, all craft files here, just click on this link. Now, of course, for me, it is showing it's in this account, which is the one you can actually email me. I'm going to try to blur out this one. I'd prefer if you didn't email that one. Anyways, if you're on your Google account, it'll look more like this, and it won't actually let you go and do stuff. I need to edit that out too. Great. And you'll actually have, it'll be shared with you because this is a shareable link, and you can only view. You can't go and edit anything. Anyways, you're going to want, here are the two versions, these two right here. This is the joint reinforcement version. It's just the normal one because most people play with joint reinforcement to my knowledge. But if you want the stock one, there's the S right here, and there's stock right there. So this is just a very large aircraft, and then you've got the stock version. What you do is you click on it, you can, or right click on it, sorry, click download, and it'll download to your Chrome. Then you can open up your file explorer. Let me get this full screen for you so you can see. Go to your downloads folder, and then you should be able to see it right here. And what you can do with that is open up your Kerbal Space Program folder. So I'm going to get another window here. So wherever you have your Kerbal Space Program folder, I have multiple installs in that folder, but go to your install, go to saves, go to whatever save you want it in. I'm going to go to this one, and then go to ships, SPH, and all you do is grab the folder and drag it in like that. I already have it in there, so you just release it, but that's it. Now that you've seen how to install this, I'm just going to briefly show you how to fly the thing. First of all, you need to press Control-Alt-F12, and you need to turn on unbreakable joints. This is, again, just for the loading process, and once it's loaded in, you turn that off, so you're not... Oh, yeah. Oh. Sometimes it kicks the Kerbals out. Just add them back in if it did that. And then click Launch. As it's loading in, you will notice that the joints look like that, and if you did not have this unbreakable joints turned on, the whole craft would just disintegrate. But because we have that on, it's able to load in smoothly. Let the wing flex kind of work out. They look almost like waves. And as we're waiting for that, I'll explain a few disclaimers. I have an incredibly powerful computer. If yours is not really a gaming computer or custom built, I would recommend caution using this craft. Make sure you have adequate cooling, and have dusted it out recently because you might overheat some things if you don't. I get between 10 and 7 frames per second with this thing, so you're probably going to be able to expect 2 or 3 with a more reasonable computer, and that'll be fun. Anyways, now that it's died down, you can uncheck this unbreakable joints and get rid of your cheats. You don't need them because, yeah, it's a stock craft. You don't want cheats. You just need it for that loading in phase. And then what you're going to do is set your throttle to maximum, get this up. It's also very useful to have an engine readout. I like this engine, but you can do any one you want and just pin it to the top, like way up here. And the reason for that is you want to see where the thrust is. It takes quite a while. Whoops, sorry. It takes quite a while to get that to work. After this, you will press the spacebar once. That will open the clamps and allow the plane to drop onto the runway. You can see how much the thing flexes. Turn on SAS, and then fire up your engines. It's also worth noting they are not fully fueled because I do have one empty tank enabled. There's a tank right here below the vertical stabilizer, and a tank right here, not the first one, but this second one right here, that are both enabled, and what you can do is you can transfer fuel between those if you have a need for ballast. I haven't really needed to do that too much, but there were certain versions where that was necessary, so I left the feature in there, and you can make it more tail or nose heavy depending on your needs. Now, these stabilizers do kind of bounce on the clamps. Not ideal, but I don't see any damage, so we're not going to worry about it. Once you have cleared the clamps, you need to immediately enable your solid rocket boosters, and then with the spacebar, then you need to begin pressing A to go to the left of the runway. The reason is this wing will probably clip on these if you don't do this. So you want it to go down the center of the left portion of the runway. You need to be going at least 125 meters per second by the time you hit the end of that runway. If not, you're going to go in the ocean. But 130 is better. You want to be there. Okay? Now this is about where you want it situated on the runway as you fly past these things. Yeah, you get an idea of the frame rate on this thing. Okay, now that we're past those, we can now go back to the center of the runway. It's very important to be at the center of the runway because you don't want to lose engines on these lights. I've never had the issue, but just to be safe, it's probably a good idea. Okay, once we begin straightening out, we will come like this. Action groups, I'll go over action groups in a second, but flaps are 5. You don't really need flaps for takeoff, and I would highly recommend not using them because you need that speed, and flaps do slow you down. They allow you to take off with lower speed, however, they do counteract what your elevators can do, and you really need to be pitching upwards as much as possible. We're about to hit that 125. Very good. 125, so we might not get as close to the ocean, and then begin pitching up once the front of the plane goes off the runway like that. Yep, I guess I decided to go into the ocean this time. I wasn't pitching up soon enough, I guess. This time I'm going to try hitting the solid rocket boosters a little bit earlier. I don't want to hit them too early because, remember, these things bump on these, and we don't want that to break them. I'll actually fix that for the version that you guys get, so you don't have to worry about this whole bumping thing. Now I'm going to hit the spacers. Coming back up to the end of the runway. I discovered a little bit more perk flipping. I've got some control surfaces in there, but that's for aesthetics. And again, not really cheating. For your version, I will turn up the control authority to 150. I've been flying right at 100%, but I'm going to try 150, and that should help. Begin pitching up before your front wheels go off the end of the runway, like right here. That way the front of the plane begins flexing upwards. And good, we've got a lot more speed this time. The greater pitch authority, it should actually be able to make it into the air. Yes. There we go. And once the land is going away faster than it's catching up, put your gear up. That'll get you more speed, more authority. Oh yeah, that's a lot less dramatic. But yeah, start your solid rocket boosters sooner and have more pitch authority and pitch up before you get to the runway. That's what I just learned. This thing's pretty hard to fly. Now, you've got to remember, if you want to do roll with this thing, using the ailerons alone is pretty slow, and sometimes it doesn't even work at all, and you might start rolling the other direction. I'm trying to roll to the right now, and nothing's really happening. What you can do is you can use the rudder a bit. So if you're rolling to the right, you yaw to the right. If you're rolling to the left, yaw to the left. And that will get more air going over. If you're going to the right, for example, that'll get more air going over the left side of the left wing, get the left wing to come up more. So you've got the whole wing helping you turn and not just the ailerons. And that's what kind of allows you to start turning. So when you use the rudder in addition to your ailerons, that's what really gets you that control that you need for a craft this large. I'm not going to show another landing, it just takes too long to fly this thing. But anyways, you've got your G is for gear, of course. 5 is for flaps, I'll show you those. So you can see that those come down like that. That's useful for landing, you can come in at a slower speed. Make sure you come in a little bit more shallow and a lot more gently than you normally would, because it's not very responsive on pitch control and you need to pitch up a lot at the last second. So that's something important. Action group 2 does your thrust reversers. You get a huge lag spike every time you hit that, so you can kind of see that there, those things open up. I'm going to put them back to normal thrust because I'll fall out of the sky if I don't. And then upon landing you will press the spacebar again, and that will deploy your chutes. I'll show you those. So you've got these parachutes for slowing down. Those parachutes slow you down a lot, so you can cut them with 7 if you don't need them anymore. And that's about all the action groups. Your solid rocket boosters will run out a little after you're in the air, and you don't need them at that point. Alright, so that's this airplane, the WTX-02S. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have fun flying this thing, and I hope you all have a very nice day.